Hello, class. Hope you had a nice spring break, and that was relaxing or productive or whatever. I have a little bit of a cold right now. I'm on the mend greatly, but if I sound a little congested, it's because of the cold. But I want to talk to you about some chemistry stuff. And although this is not proof per se, but this is a possibility, and we're combining chemistry with anthropology and experimentation with that. So, kind of going through the scientific method, although we haven't seen proof for this specific application of tar specifically coming from birch trees, but it's a possibility. So, it's interesting, kind of tells a story. Part of the reason why they feel this way is they have observed this behavior in humans, specifically Aboriginal humans, like in around the Alaska, Canada area. And if you've been there, there's a lot of birch trees. I have some birch syrup. It's not as sweet as maple syrup. I think maple syrup tastes a little better, but it's certainly got a different flavor profile. But besides birch syrup, you can take the bark of birch trees, and they did this experiment in Europe because that's where Neanderthals primarily were, and the birch bark was taken, it was burned, and it was collected over, they had three different ways of doing it. Distillation, which they didn't think that the Neanderthals would necessarily have, but they did do it with distillation on clay pots, and also just putting something over the fire and letting the soot collect, and that collection of the stuff is tar. So you can see that on this individual's finger. So they use this tar as a binder, so that we did see archaeological evidence that this tar was used as a binder for things. But what we notice is that Aboriginal humans have been using it as an antiseptic for skin. So instead of using triple antibiotic ointments or mupirocin or some other drug like that, or cocktail drugs for triple antibiotic ointment, these indigenous peoples are using birch tar, and so okay, well, let's see if that works. And so the scientists went ahead and tried to recreate the conditions, and now we're going to test the birch tar to see if it does have antiseptic properties. So what they found out was they looked at two different bacterias. One was E. coli. I forget the other one. So looked at two different. Here we go. S. aureus. So it's gram positive, and E. coli is gram negative. So if you're not familiar with bacteria, generally speaking, we put them in. This is greatly oversimplification, and it's not this simple, of course. We have gram positive and gram negative. Gram positive, it's a gram test. It's a stain. If the bacteria gets stained by the gram test, it's gram positive. It doesn't get stained, it's gram negative. And again, this is oversimplification, but generally speaking, gram positive bacteria tend to be skin infections and also upper respiratory infections. So, including pneumonia. So pneumonia, bronchitis, sinusitis, skin infections tend to be gram positive, and things in the lower body and also in the kidney sort of excretory system tend to be gram negative. So in general, antibiotics work in things. So penicillins, amoxicillin, penicillin, those are gram positive, kind of generally effective. And things like sulfa drugs or fluoroquinones like Cipro or Levaquin tend to be gram negative. That doesn't mean that you can't use them for either. You can treat, you can use Cipro to treat pneumonia, for instance, but it's generally used more. Cipro is generally used more for things like UTIs or kidney infections. So, but I mean, this is a general oversimplification. And what they found out was that the birch tar worked well as a general surface for gram-positive bacteria. So And also just some more of this. So 200 milligrams of it can cover 100 square centimeters of skin. So that's easily you can use that. And then so if you have like a skin lesion on your back of your hand and your face, you can kind of take it and rub it on there, and then you can use that. I think you should still, use triple antibiotic ointment or mupirocin if you have that. I think that's a great. If I that's my favorite topical antiseptic. But if you have, I think that's better than the coal tar. The triple antibiotic ointment is also good because it's anti-inflammatory. So if your cuts hurt, you can put some of that on there, and one of the ingredients is anti-inflammatory, so it won't hurt as bad. So there are several things that I am advocating modern medicine. This is pretty clever though that they're doing this. You can take tar from the bark of a tree, lightly processed over fire, that you can actually has antimicrobial properties. That's interesting. So, like I said, this is observed in humans, and it's hypothesized that it might be used in Neanderthals. Of course, this is following the scientific method. We don't have proof for this that the Neanderthals did this, but it's a possibility. So it's interesting to think. Maybe we'll see something in the future. Of course, it's we don't really find that much skin from Neanderthals, and we don't really see a written record, so it's hard to. This would be something that would be hard to prove, right? Using archaeological methods, but it's interesting. I thought this was kind of a cool little fun article about kind of, I don't want to say popular science, but it's certainly makes you think outside the box of this classroom, and also it's got some ties to medical stuff, which I know you guys are interested in. So hope you enjoyed this article here. It's a brief one too, so it'll get you as a warm up back and tracked for your classes. So, like I said, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed your spring break, and you're going to enjoy the rest of the term. If you run into some problems, please let me know. I'll do what I can I'll do what I can to do to help. So things like, especially outside the course, things like lack of basic needs, or crippling mental health challenges or academic issues. And I of course mean that outside the course. Of course, the material, the management of the course is my primary job, and so that of course always takes precedence. So, but I mean, if you have other issues, like I've always been saying, please feel free to reach out. I'll do what I can to help. So, have a nice rest of your week, and I hope you don't catch the cold that I've gotten. Although it's not too bad, but it's annoying. So, well, take care then. Goodbye.